Welcome, management. Welcome to our session for the GA Pre-K portal. In our session today, we will be discussing Class Reporting Manager, rosters, waitlist, payments. I'm Kay Pollard. I'm a Georgia's Pre-K specialist from the Metro Atlanta area, and today with me is Gwen Kahn.
Hi, I'm Gwen. I'm also a specialist from the Metro Atlanta area, and I'm so glad you've joined us today. Let's get started.
So are you ready to play Detailology, the study of details? This session is very heavy with details because you will need that skill in the GA Pre-K portal. Which cartoon logo is correct, A or B? If you said B, you are correct. The original cartoon series was named Merry Melodies, so Looney Tunes is correct. Which candy bar wrapper is correct, A or B? If you said B, you are a true chocolate junkie and know your candy bar wrappers. There is no hyphen in Kit Kat. Question number 3, is it magic mirror on the wall or mirror mirror on the wall? I know, not the one you expected. It's magic mirror on the wall. The Wicked Queen in Snow White actually said magic mirror. So now that our detail skills are fully engaged, let's look at GA Pre-K Rollology, the study of the roles in the GA Pre-K portal. Who are you and what GA Pre-K role do you serve? Let's look at the dashboards within the portal. The PAU, also known as the Primary Authorized User, and the Project Director have a lot of options on their dashboard and also have a lot of access. On the right side of your screen, Data Management User and Financial User have very few options and little access. And a Site Director is kind of in the middle. If you are the Primary Authorized User and the Project Director, you have all these roles combined in one person. You do not need to assign yourself as a data manager or a financial user. It will actually cause you to limit your access and cause multiple tiles to appear on your screen. So where do you find the instruction manuals for the GA Pre-K portal as well as other resources? On the DECAL website, decal.ga.gov. There's a big yellow bar across the top of the screen. Hover over the word Programs in the big yellow bar, click Georgia's Pre-K. You'll see these sweet little smiling children. Below their photos is a blue button that says Learn More. If you click that, now you are at the GA Pre-K portal resources. Where the red arrow is indicating is where the user guides are, the instruction manuals for the different roles in the GA Pre-K portal. Our first scenario, it's in the details. A new child enrolls in your state's Georgia's Pre-K classroom. He has been placed with a foster family. Now a child who left 2 months ago is returning. Upon GA Pre-K entry, you receive a duplicate student message. What to do in GA Pre-K.
All right, Kay, we're going to figure out what to do in GA Pre-K, and we're going to start with the Class Reporting Manager. When you use GA Pre-K, 90% of your work is going to be in the Class Reporting Manager. All of your students and teachers are recorded there. Think of this as an enrollment record all the way through your year. In the past, Panda has sometimes cleaned up your roles with students who are no longer in your program. You will not have that happen in GA Pre-K. Everyone will stay. You will be able to see all of the students and teachers who have been in your program all year. So let's see who has access to the Class Reporting Manager. The PAU, the project director, the data management user, and the site director all have access to the class reporting manager. The PAU and the project director and the data management user have access to all the sites in your program. The site director only has access to the classrooms that are in that site. So let's start with entering a student. You have two choices when you log into Classroom Reporting Manager. You can either enter students manually or you can use the bulk upload option. We're going to start manually. So you're going to enter all of the fields with a red asterisk, which includes the name and birthday. We do have a new addition that says no middle name on documentation, and that will help you enter correctly from the birth certificate the child's name. If you don't have a social security number, there's also a box to check for that. And you can match that up with what the parents filled out on the social security waiver during your orientation packet time. Now we get down, our example showed a foster child. So in this scenario, we've got the foster child checked for category 1. I want to point out that there are boxes here under category 1 and 2. That means that you can choose more than one option. Sometimes a foster child also has CAPS and maybe even Medicaid. So you would want to make that match the new updated roster information form that you had your families fill out during orientation. Now we're going to enter the parent email, which is a new required field. You'll find that on the new roster information form. And in GAPREK, you get to enter your child and then decide what class you want to assign them to. So you no longer have to have all of your children for each class decided. At the end of each student entry, you'll choose the class that you want to assign them to. You're going to enter the date that they actually come to school for the first time and hit submit. And you get this wonderful green bar. It's a wonderful green bar, isn't it, Kay?
It is. It's lovely. We love green.
We do. And look what happens. We celebrate.
Only on the PowerPoint, though.
Only on the PowerPoint. We're sorry that that's not actually in your portal. Now we're going to move into the bulk upload. If you are a school system, you're going to use your data manager system that you use for your students, just as you always have. That will download, you'll edit for category 1 in transportation, just as you always have, and upload that file to our system. If you're a private provider, we have an Excel sheet for you that will help you do a bulk upload. You'll want to click the Get Student Template on the right-hand side, and it looks like this. The directions are at the top, and in the yellow, you'll see examples of children, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, of course, that have been entered for you. There are also drop-down menus in the Excel sheet to help you enter the data. Once you've entered the data at the site level, so if you have multiple sites, you'll have multiple Excel sheets to upload into GAPREK. Once those are done, you delete all of the colors, you save your file as a CSV format, and you upload it to GAPREK. Once you upload it to GAPREK, you're going to get a bell notification. I hope you've noticed this bell notification in the upper right hand of your screen. Very important information comes through that portal. So we want to check that often. In this situation, after a bulk upload, your bell notification is going to read bulk student upload processing. The bulk upload of student data to the Classroom Reported Manager might take 24 hours. And when it's finished, the project director will receive an email. Now we're going to look at waiting lists. In the past, waiting lists have helped us, of course, fund programs in new locations and make sure that as many children as possible receive a slot in our Georgia's Pre-K program. This year, with GAPREK, we have an additional benefit. Entering students into the waitlist also enables you to have that child partially entered into your portal. And if you do enroll them permanently as an actual student in your program, you can pull them straight from the waitlist. And we'll talk about that in a few slides. So let's talk about adding a student to the waitlist. We're going to click Waitlists on the left-hand side and then Add Student. You're going to enter the fields with the red asterisks that are mandatory fields. If you miss one, you get a red banner that says we've hit a snag. We don't like that. But if you do hit one, just go back and fill in that missing field and you'll be ready to go, ready to move forward. So here you can save and add more children, or on the right-hand side, you can simply save. You'll get the green banner, and we're going to have another celebration. Yay! We're going to refocus our detail skills because our next slide is very much detail oriented. So right now, take a look at the picture on the left and the picture on the right and see how many differences you can identify.
I see the computer on the left-hand side, no computer on the right. Look at the blocks behind them. They're in a different order. And there's a blue car on the right-hand side.
All right, great job. So now let's look and see what our detail skills are going to get us in GA Pre-K. We've got a filter button on the right-hand side in the class reporting manager that is going to be very helpful as we look at our data to make sure that it's accurate and correct for our rosters. When you look at your current student list, you'll have every child enrolled in your program. If you have a large program, that is going to be a very long list of names. In order to help you chunk it down into classrooms, we gave you this filter button. So you can search by classroom ID so that you can check Miss Jane's roster against what you have in GA Pre-K for Miss Jane's class. You can check category 1 to make sure that those children are listed correctly. You can check your transportation, your dual language learners, and your special ed. Now let's think about moving a student. Let's say that there was a set of twins and mom thought that those twins should be split up for GA Pre-K, for Georgia's Pre-K. And then we actually hit day 1 of school and she changed her mind. So we're going to move one of those twins to his sibling's classroom. You go into the current students, click the twin, and click move. When you have, the system is going to ask you, do you want to move this child to another site or another class? In our scenario, we're just moving the child next door into another class. You'll fill in the information about which class you'd like that child to go into and the date that the child actually came to that classroom, and click submit. You'll get that wonderful green bar at the top. Now, this is my favorite part. So adding a returning student. Let's say that you had a student who went to another country or possibly moved across the county, but is now back. So they were in your program. You put an end date on that child because they left and now they're back. When you click add returning student, you're taken to the closed student list. That's a list of students who were in your program, but now are no longer active in your program, but they're never gone. They're not deleted or taken out. You can always get them. So in this scenario, we're going to find the child who's returned. We're going to click add student back to the class reporting manager, and it's going to ask you what class and date that child entered. And there you go. You've added that child back into your program as an active student. Now, earlier I talked about a wait list and how you could add children from the wait list back into your class reporting manager. So we're going to go to the wait list, find the child that we have now enrolled because another child has moved away, and we're going to click Move Student to the Class Reporting Manager. Now, if you think back, entering a child for a wait list doesn't use your birth certificate, it doesn't use your social security card, and it doesn't have all the information listed on the roster information form. So we're going to have an additional step here for that information. So click the arrow next to additional information and you'll be able to add all those items from the roster information form. Please double check the birth certificate and the social security card to ensure that the information the parents gave you is actually represented on the documentation. But it saves you a step. You already have that child entered into GA Pre-K. We're going to move that student. You're going to choose the class they want to go to and enter the date that they actually attend the program for the first day and confirm the move. And you'll get another green banner. I love it. The last thing we're going to talk about in under students is closing a student. So this is a child who has left your program for whatever reason. And we're going to go into the class reporting manager. We're going to find that student, click the box next to it, and this edit pencil all the way at the right-hand side under action is there for every teacher and student in the class reporting manager. That's how you make any edit you need to make. So you're going to click that button and you're going to be able to select the last day the child was in your program and update. Okay, so in our scenario earlier that Kay talked about, we had a duplicate student message when we logged into GA Pre-K. So let's talk about how we're going to deal with that. In GA Pre-K, duplicate students and class and attendance overlap are two separate things. It's no longer one thing. We're going to talk about attendance overlap first. With attendance overlap, if you have a child who has the same attendance dates as another child in the state or your program, you're going to get an attendance overlap bell notification. And in GA Pre-K Class Reporting Manager, you'll see a little check mark under the attendance overlap column next to the child that has the issue. There may be two different reasons for this issue. Let's talk about the easier one. So you've entered some students last week and you've entered some students this week, and in that you accidentally entered poor little James twice. When you enter him a second time, you're going to get this message that says, right now, GA Pre-K sees that that child is already in the system. And you can stop right there and go fix it immediately. You don't need to contact ECAL. You can just go ahead and fix that. Now, GA Pre-K can only do that in the moment within your program. When GA Pre-K goes to sleep at night, it looks at all the other programs in the state of Georgia and it does its comparisons overnight. So in the morning, if James came from another center and you enter James, but James was not closed at the site he previously attended, you're going to get a bell notification about an attendance overlap, but it will happen the next morning after you enter that child. So bell notifications are a really important part of our detail-oriented GA Pre-K system. So your bell notification will give you the opportunity to use the pencil icon under action to edit the student information, attendance date, or it may be already correct, in which case you can use this little speech bubble, and this will help you resolve the student issue, and you will be able to attest to this affirmation that says that all of your student information is correct. In the event that your issue is a duplicate student and not an attendance overlap problem, it's really the same process. It's just that the data issue is different. So a duplicate student would have a similar name, birthday, or social security number. In that event, you'd get the same bell notification and you'd get that same opportunity to go in, click the edit pencil, and move through the steps to either edit the student information or make this affirmation that you see in front of you. Either way, you're going to resolve your attendance issue or your duplicate student. Remember, a duplicate student is designated with a yellow triangle next to the student name. So let's play devil's advocate and we have a worst case scenario. So we've done all of these things, but the issue remains. What do you do? The project director will get an email with instructions about documents that need to be uploaded into GA Pre-K. This icon will appear next to the child in question that has the issue, and you'll be instructed about the types of documentation that you need to upload. This is what the screen looks like. For attendance overlap, it's just the registration form and the attendance documentation. For a duplicate student, you have many options because there are more fields that might be affected by a duplicate student issue. Please pay attention to the email that the project director receives because that email will tell you what documentation your specific duplicate student needs so that you don't spend time updating things that we don't need.
So It is time for a little giggle. The next person who says, "You're a teacher, you just play all day," will be locked into my classroom and the children will be given very sweet, sugary cupcakes. Digging deeper yet, your Georgia's pre-K lead teacher who holds a T5 certification provided her notice as she is moving away. You hire another lead teacher, but she cannot start until next month. She holds a bachelor's degree in ECE with no Georgia teaching certification. Until she can report, you'll need to use multiple substitutes in the classroom. What to do in GA Pre-K? Who has access? So we will still be in the class reporting manager. So the PAU and project director, data management user, and site director user have access to adjust and revise teacher data. So when you are logging in to the GA Pre-K portal, make sure that you select the site that that specific teacher serves at. So if you oversee multiple sites for a center or multiple elementary schools for a school system, make sure that you click the Manage button on the site that the teacher serves at. Then we're going to add a teacher. So the system automatically defaults to student data. We're going to intentionally click Teacher Data. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see our teacher toolbar. We're going to use those items to revise or enter teacher data into the GA Pre-K portal. So right now we're going to add a teacher. So we're going to add this new teacher by entering her or his first name and last name, Georgia PDS number, and last 4 digits of their Social Security number. If you notice, there's a search button. It is searching for that Georgia GAPDS number in the GAPDS system. What if the teacher does not have a Georgia PDS number? There's a box for that. We enter the teacher's first and last name, last 4 of their social, and then click the box that reads "Teacher does not have a Georgia PDS number," and click Add Teacher manually. Also, on this next screen, you'll add the requested information in addition to their credential, their first credential, and if they happen to have a secondary credential, those in those boxes, as well as the class that they will be serving in and safe. But remember, in our scenario, the new teacher would not be reporting for a month, so we would need to use multiple substitutes until the new teacher arrives. So on our teacher toolbar, we will click beside the previous teacher, beside her name in the little box, and then click multiple substitutes used from the toolbar. It comes up with this box, replace with MSU. That is not related to a university. It says multiple, it means multiple substitutes used. So on this screen, you would put the previous teacher's last day serving in the classroom. We also, in the GA Pre-K portal, have the opportunity to add additional staff. For those of you that might have 3 teachers in a classroom because it's a Georgia's Pre-K inclusion class, a Montessori class, etc., you can now make a note of that 3rd teacher in the classroom. So again, going back to our teacher toolbar, we would click Add Additional Staff. Click beside the teacher and then click Add Additional Staff, and this box will come up. It's just sharing with you that this additional staff notation does not impact your payment. You will still only be paid for lead and assistant pre-K teachers. So you enter the individual's information, first and last name, Georgia PDS number, last 4 of their social, or if they don't have a PDS number, click that box and search or save. So let's change our scenario. Let's say that the assistant teacher has now completed her degree and is able to serve as a lead teacher. You might promote her to the lead teacher position and hire a replacement assistant teacher. So in that case, we would click beside the previous lead teacher's name, and we would click Change Teacher Type from the teacher toolbar. It brings up this box, and we select which teacher type from the drop-down, what date that individual is taking over that role, and then the comments box, you can put anything that's helpful to you here. It might be something to help you with the reconciliation that will be coming up next year. For example, when the previous teacher left, when the new teacher arrived, and hit save. Okay, let's change our scenario again. Let's say that the lead teacher is moving, but she's only moving to another location within Georgia, and you happen to have a site there, and you need a pre-K teacher there. So you would click beside the teacher's name in the box on the left-hand side, and then you would click Move from the teacher toolbar. It's going to ask you, are you moving this teacher to another one of your sites that you oversee, or to another classroom there in the same building? Select which bubble applies and hit Submit. On this screen, you will add the requested information as well as the last day in the previous class and the begin date in the new class, and hit Submit. Another scenario, even deeper yet. Several children have left the program. The classroom is down to only 17 children enrolled and entered in the GA Pre-K portal. The operating guidelines note today as a roster due date. What to do in GA Pre-K. So if you are the PAU or project director, you will see these reminders, these important dates on your dashboard for you. If you are not assigned one of those roles, it's okay. Those dates are still available in the operating guidelines on the pre-K page on the DECAL website. Count day. Let's remember, count day is the date that we take inventory of the children that are actively enrolled and attending in your Georgia's pre-K classroom. We do not include children that have not attended an instructional day yet in the GA Pre-K portal. And the due date is the date that the roster should be submitted. Who has access to submit a roster? Let's look. It is only the primary authorized user and the project director. So with that said, what is your process going to be at your site within your facility? If you have multiple people that have different roles, if you have a data user and a financial user and a PAU and project director, it's ultimately the PAU's responsibility to make sure that everything is submitted on time and accurately. But what's the process going to be? Have a discussion at your facility to make sure all tasks are completed in a timely and accurate way.
Okay, so now it's time to submit rosters. We have had count day, and it is time to actually turn them into DECAL. This screen is a primary authorized user screen or a project director screen. Those are the only two folks from our previous slide who can submit rosters. So we're going to click Manage Rosters. We are only going to click Manage Rosters 4 times a year, and we're going to spend about 2 minutes here. It's going to be great. When you go into Manage Rosters, you can submit rosters at the program level with one click, or you can choose to do it site by site or class by class. That is completely up to you. You're going to receive the very familiar announcement here about making sure that all your data is correct, and you're going to accept that and submit it. When your rosters are submitted, what's happening in reality is that your roster, the GA Pre-K system, is going into your class reporting manager, scooping out all of your information as of count day and creating your roster. So we want to make really sure, maybe using that filter button, that your data in the class reporting manager is correct. So there are two additional tiny things that you might find in the Manage Roster field, and it is a late start request. That is only for a program that has a very unfortunate thing, maybe a natural disaster or a storm that causes the program to begin instruction after the first roster count date. That's the only time you would use that request. The other is a late roster submission request, and that means that the project director or PAU has had a similar unfortunate event and cannot submit rosters on time. You would just let us know that there.
Okay, what is wrong with this bill? Again, details. Details matter. Look at the $100 bill closely. Do you notice anything that would make it invalid? That's right. It says it is for motion picture use only. This $100 bill was created for a film set here in Georgia.
Okay, it's time to talk about money.
Cha-ching.
So we are going to talk about payments. So let's talk about what's the same and different in our payment system between Panda and GA Pre-K. The same. What's the same? We're still basing our classroom operating expense on whether or not our program is a non-metro private, a metro private, or a public school. That's the same. We're still basing our payment on the lead teacher salary credential. That's the same. And our assistant teacher salary is the same across the state, and that won't change regardless of your program or your program's location. What's different? This is a big difference. In the past, your calendar in Panda was sort of hey, here's some information about our program so that your specialist knew when you were going to serve your 180 days to your students and when your teachers were going to have teacher work days. That's kind of it. In GA Pre-K, your payment is based on your calendar. It is very important that your calendar is approved and accurate. So we're going to walk through an example of how GA Pre-K uses the information on the left, the things that are the same, and the things that are different, your calendar. We're going to use these charts. These are straight from the operating guidelines. And we're going to use the numbers on this chart in our example. We've got our private metro, our private non-metro, and our public school over here to the right. You'll see there's two buckets of money on all of these charts. On the left-hand side, you see columns labeled salary. That's one bucket. And on the right, there's three columns all labeled operating. Those are your operating expense. We're going to talk about how GA Pre-K figures out your operating payment per month and how it figures out your salary payment each month. So here's our example. In the program we're going to be talking about, we're in a private class in the non-metro area, and this program is going to school 180 student days. So we're going to start with our whole classroom operating budget, the whole year, plus your transportation money for the whole year. We're going to add that together and divide it by the number of student instructional days in your program. Now, this is fine if you're 180 days. It's also fine if you're extending your school day and going fewer days. The end result is that everyone gets their entire grant payment by the 10th payment. It just matters in your daily rate, which is going to be really important in the next step. So in this example, $28,529.23 is divided by 180 student days for a daily operating expense payment of $158.49. So let's take that daily rate down to the next step. Entering $158.49, multiplying that by the number of instructional days in the month that the payment is for. In this example, children came to school for 20 days in this program. So 158.49 times 20 gives us an operating payment for the month of $3,169.80. So that's our bucket for operating expenses. You can see that each month is going to give you a different number. So it's important to understand how that's calculated so you can plan for your cash flow, your contracts with your teachers, and your expectations. So when we looked at the big chart, we had two buckets. We did the operating, but there's also the salary. So in this example, we have the same number of student days. This is the same class, but this teacher is a T4. So that's going to give his or her annual salary of $45,320.73. We're going to divide that yearly salary by the number of days a teacher works. That's not the same as the student days. So that's going to be 190 days in our example. But again, if you go fewer student days and you maybe only go 178 days, you would have 188 teacher days. So now that gives us a daily rate for this teacher of $238.53. Now we're going to take that daily rate down and we're going to multiply it by the number of days this teacher worked in the month that we are in our example. We had 20 student days, but this month had 2 teacher work days. So we have $238.53 times 22 teacher days gives the monthly payment for this teacher $5,247.66.
So Gwen, you made the comment that the calendar is very important for my payment. What if something happens? Am I able to change it?
You can. Your calendar, just like the class reporting manager, is open all the time. It's never locked. So if you have a really big change in your calendar, you can go in and amend your calendar. Your specialist will approve it, and then your payments will then be based on the new calendar. Your payment cannot be made without an approved calendar in the GA Pre-K system. So now that we kind of understand a little bit about how our payments are calculated, how can we find our bank statement in the GA Pre-K system? So we're going to look under payment advice. This information is only available to the project director, the PAU, and the financial user. There are 3 fields to fill out. There is the payment type, the year, and the month. So I'm going to go through each of the types of payments. The first one is the monthly payment. That's your typical grant payment that will come 10 times a year. The next one is called a special payment. That is a payment that is not part of your 10 payments a year. That is possibly a refurbishment payment. Not everyone will get that at the same time. That would fall under a special payment. The last one is a startup payment, and that of course would be for a new program or an expansion class.
And Gwen, this is my favorite feature.
It is. It's Kay's favorite part. So now let's look at that payment advice. We've pulled up a monthly payment advice. It's organized in an umbrella down to the details fashion. At the top chart, you're going to have your entire program listed and what was paid to each bucket. So all of your lead teacher pay is here in this top chart, all of your assistant teacher pay, all of your operating expenses. As you scroll down, it gets more and more detailed. You're going to hit a site level. So the next chart is each site's payment, all the teachers at that site, all the operating costs at that site. At the very bottom is the most detailed version. This is the class level. It's not labeled with your teacher's name, it's labeled with the class ID. That will help you match it to the teacher that's teaching in that class, but it is listed, the credential, the CYE, and the number of children enrolled in the program. This gives you that teacher's payment for the month, that assistant teacher's payment for the month, and the operating expenses for the month. On the right-hand side, you're going to see retro payments. Those are payments that we're catching up with something. In your August payment, you were paid for the month of August. But you may have received a second payment after your August payment, and that was a retro payment for any days your teachers worked in July. Because that's not part of the August payment, it had to come in a separate deposit. So what happens if you get the dreaded payment hold?
Tell us, Gwen.
You would get an email. The project director would get an email about a payment hold. But you can go into the system and you can look and see yourself where the issue is. This is organized in the same fashion as the payment advice. At the top, you see the whole grantee level. That's the whole program. If there's an issue there, you'll see an explanation under the word reason at the right-hand side. If the issue is at a site level, you'll see the reason over under the site level on the right-hand side under reason. Or if it's just one class's issue where there was a day in your calendar that wasn't covered by a teacher, you'll just see there at the class level. When payments are held, they're only held at the level that there was an issue. So if there was a class level issue, only that one class's payment will be held. You'll receive the rest of your payment. Unless it was a grantee level issue, in which case your whole payment will be held until that's rectified.
So Gwen, you made the comment that if there was a teacher issue in the classroom, what are some reasons that there might be a teacher issue?
That's a great question, because remember, our calendar in GA Pre-K is so very important now. So it used to be that you might enter your teacher first day in Panda as August 1st. We did a lot of that. We put students and teachers in on August 1st in the old system. We do not want to do that in the GA Pre-K system, because if you had days in July, you have to have a teacher for those days in July. Any day in your calendar that has a teacher or student day, you have to have a teacher coverage for that day. So you're going to have an issue if you have your teacher starting on August 1st, but the teacher work days were actually beginning in July.
Which is a real US half dollar, 1960s or 1890s? Which one do you think? If you said both, you are right. Both are. However, the 1890s half dollar in mint condition, because details matter, is worth $450 more to a collector. So if you need help, you're always welcome to contact your assigned Georgia's pre-K specialist. Or if you need an immediate response, you can contact the pre-K specialist of the day. Or you can go to the GA Pre-K portal. On the bottom side of your screen, you'll see a blue box that reads Contact Pre-K. Click that box and you can include as much detail as possible there so that we can get your issue resolved as soon as possible. If you are concerned, if the help ticket actually went through, you can click that button again and you can click all incidents and see your help ticket there. In the event that it says in process, that means someone is working on it and someone will be back with you as soon as possible. All right, so this is the end of our session together. Please contact your assigned pre-K specialist or use that help ticket button in the GA Pre-K portal if you have additional questions. Thank you for being with us today. Hope it was beneficial.
Thank you.